Not that long ago during Future State, DC Comics introduced us to Yara, Flor, the future Wonder Woman. And today in Wonder Woman 800, Tom King introduces us to yet another future Wonder Woman, Diana Prince's actual daughter. I believe her name is Lizzie. They call her Trinity. I guess that's her hero name. Not shockingly, she's palling around with the adult version of the Super Sons. And here to talk with me about why tween girl Tom King is the best version of Tom King is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
Jesus, this was embarrassing to read.
I did feel kind of embarrassed for reading this, and we're not going to cover the whole thing. It is a special plus-sized issue 800 edition, but it's got like Clunrad stories. This is nothing in comparison to the Flash 800, which was actually pretty good. There's only one stinker in that one. Pretty much all of this is stinker, especially the Tom King stuff. But that's the one we're going to concentrate on because Tom King is the A-list writer on the book. He's taking over for Wonder Woman, and he leaves us with a cliffhanger here as to why we're supposed to pick up Wonder Woman #1. Now that they've hit issue number 800, they can actually reset it back to a #1 issue because they needed to cash in on that one, Doc. It's so weird. We just got introduced to Yara Flor, and the way that they introduced Yara Flor is basically teaming her with John Kent. I believe they were in a relationship. That was before John Kent apparently was gay when he was a kid, even though he was an adult in those books. And obviously a relationship with Damian Wayne. And they put in all that effort. The character looked amazing. People were excited for Yara Flor. That character died out in less than like a year. The series was canceled. They stopped referencing her. And now they're essentially introducing the exact same character. The way that they're introducing her to the DC universe is essentially the exact same, except for she's Wonder Woman's daughter now, and her name is Lizzie.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think that's exactly the same. This one's a supervillain, and very obviously a supervillain from like the 5 pages of Tom King. Or Tom King thinks that being a supervillain is the way to be a superhero. Because at least Yara Flor had a personality that people were interested in, had a design that people were interested in, a story. This is generic Wonder person with the most obnoxious personality that I think I've read in any comic, much less a Tom King comic. This is like all of the girl better than you stories of like the Batman Catwoman, where Catwoman was the mommy wife. This is that like ratcheted up to 10.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Tom King hasn't had a lot of success introducing anything new to DC Comics. Almost all of his success has been predicated on taking something that existed and essentially breaking it apart, deconstructing it. Really, the only 2 characters I can think of that he ever introduced were Gotham Girl, and I think her brother's name is Gotham or Gotham Boy or whatever it is. And no one talks about those characters. They don't even use them in stories anymore. I think Cena Grace wrote like a short Gotham Girl story, like Gotham Girl Interrupted or something. But that's the extent that they've actually used that character outside of Tom King. And I'm getting the strong feeling here. There's a reason for that. I don't think he can create anything from scratch, not within the DC universe.
Yeah, it does not seem like Tom King has any ability to be additive. He is the personification of the Alan Moore problem. Everybody just wants to be Alan fucking Moore, and nobody is.
Yeah, it's really interesting where we get this Tom King run is kicking off for Wonder Woman, basically following up one of the worst runs in Wonder Woman history, if not the worst run in Wonder Woman history. You know, the Clunrad stuff was just god-awful. Wonder Woman's fighting magic milk and just nothing really cool or interesting in there. The sales absolutely tanked. We ended up getting that stupid Trial of the Amazons event. No one liked any of that stuff. There were already too many Wonder Girls in that book. I think we had Cassie, we had Donna Troy, we had Yara Flor and Nubia in that one. So there's enough Wonder Girls walking around. So I imagine there's going to be a sales bump for Wonder Woman because Tom King is like A-list in comparison to, you know, Clunrad, who couldn't sell anything to sell their life. But if this is the tone of what he's going to be doing in Wonder Woman, and this is going to be a focal point, because we're going to get into why this character is so awful, Trinity, Lizzie, whatever you want to call her, I think he's going to take sales on Wonder Woman too. No one's going to stick around for this because this character is wholly unlikable.
This character from the 6 pages we see here is the most insufferable twat I've ever read in new comics. If you thought like Viv Vision was obnoxious, if you thought Kamala Khan in Champions was condescending as shit, if you thought all those other like teen heroes were better than you just because we're young and we're of the modern era, were obnoxious, this character is somehow worse. It's orders of magnitude worse too.
If you don't believe us, let's get into this, Doc. Let's talk about this dialogue because it is so bad. You'll have to see it to believe it. This is the introduction of Lizzie, the new Wonder Girl. Trinity, I think, is her name. Of course, she's friends with the Super Sons because everyone has to be friends with the Super Sons if you want to introduce a legacy character now. And she showed up a little bit late. This is what she says. I'm late because I was fighting 12 deities, and that takes a little time. Please forgive me. I regret it so. And you didn't see me because I'm, I don't know, like better than you at all the things. Is this news? That I don't regret, but you probably do. So I'm sorry about you doing the regretting if that helps. If it doesn't, that's not on me. Anyway, hurry it up, will you? The magic cave of death or whatever is right over here, but the spell I just got to open it is tied to the sun's reflection on the water. And you may or may not know that the sun actually moves, so we don't have all day to diddle-doddle on your weird hangups. And then she says, boys, if you like to stay behind and be all craven, that's perfectly fine. Don't be ashamed or anything. Sadly, I don't have time right now to dig a hole in the sand for you to stick your heads in, so you have to do that part on your own. But rest assured, I have full confidence in your abilities to get it done. Absolutely the most condescending dickhead take I've ever seen on any character, period. And this is supposed to be a hero.
If this was actually Damian Wayne in this, he'd have shot her in the face with a batarang in like about 3 seconds in. And John Kent, for as much of a giant pussy he is, he still would have just thrown her into fucking space. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. It starts with apologizing for being late and then blaming them and telling them that they're the problem. In like what should have been 3 sentences, but was actually just one halfway through the first one. This is how a villain talks. If you stuck these word vomit in the mouth of Sinestro, it would make as much sense too. And it would feel a lot more authentic.
Well, I just don't. I think Tom King probably gets sassed by his daughter a lot. And maybe he decided to make the worst versions of his daughter on her worst day as superhero. It comes off bad. Him trying to be a tween girl does not work. And of course, she's the bestest. We've got Superman there. We've got Damian Wayne, Batman, and obviously this new version of Wonder Woman. There's 3 trials. And when they're done with the trials, Superman is just stuck in an infinite loop of pain. Batman is still fighting Nike. But guess what Lizzie did? She absolutely vanquished her enemy, her test, in about 2 seconds. Yeah. So she's better than them. And she's better than her mom, too, because she doesn't just have the lasso of truth. She has the 3 lassos of fate.
Yeah, that nobody's ever fucking heard of before, because apparently there's a black lasso, a gold lasso, and I'm guessing a silver one.
And I assume this gets her to this confrontation or this conversation. That's the big cliffhanger for Wonder Woman #1. I'm assuming she's talking to Bruce Wayne Batman. I might be wrong on that one, but that's my assumption just by the way that his face looks, the brief parts that we see.
I'm not even going to speculate on who it is, but he was a king, and it's some story about how America... Well, yeah, but also on how America ended or something.
Something like that. Scott Snyder already told that story in The Last Night or whatever it is, that Black Label book he did. But then, of course, the character becomes even more insufferable. I've been searching it high and low for a story, and I heard you have a good one to tell. And then he says, you want to hear about sacrifice? And she says, oh, well, only the bestest one. Mine. Talking about I want the mine story, but she says the bestest because Tom King's a fucking idiot. And then later, they're talking, and she's like, super duper, but I've got one brother stuck in a loop of infinite pain, the other in an eternal, unmittable fight. So if we maybe we can get on with this already, it'll mean a ton to me. Say I need to get back to Batman and Superman, who are indisposed and not going to win their thing. So this is the big cliffhanger. We're going to see the story of how she was conceived and how everything fell apart. This doesn't get me interested in a comic book. This makes me, #1, hate the character, as she comes off as insufferable. And I don't ever want to see Tom King write dialogue for anyone under the age of 35 again.
This is a narcissistic, self-absorbed bitch. If you think that is somehow going to be a draw to anyone to sign on and read this new comic, I've got some fucking news for you, dude. You don't understand why anyone picks up a comic book. he's setting her up to have like a big, comeuppance and everything. But honestly, I don't want her to recognize that she's an insufferable, narcissistic Gen Zer. I just want her to die. That's it.
But Doc, this is a key comic book. This is good spec material. This could be worth $11 in 4 years.
What was the
First
cover price
of Lizzie?
Wasn't the cover price 12?
Probably.
So yeah, you could buy this and lose money. No, nobody's going to care about this character. Nobody cared about it the minute she ended up on the page. There was a little bit of hype behind the idea of Wonder Woman's daughter, because now it will be the third member of the Trinity that has their own offspring. John Kent was popular as part of Super Sons. Damian Wayne was popular. I mean, he still maintained his popularity even after Super Sons ended, mostly because they didn't turn him into just a walking PR campaign. So now this is the third and final member of the Trinity to have their own, next generation, their actual child as part of this. So people were kind of hyped for it until you actually wrote it. And now, yeah. And now you're like, oh, can we go back, please?
Yeah, just go back to Yara Flor. How many Wonder Girls can you introduce, in a 24-month span? You've literally already done all these tropes to introduce Yara Flor. That didn't work. Not because the character wasn't cool, not because the design wasn't good. They just didn't really stick with the character. And now they're going to do the exact same thing, but it's a Tom King creation. And, his mom used to be an executive at Warner Brothers. So we'll probably get a Trinity movie in the not too distant future because it's Tom King. And even though the character is completely insufferable and, this comic book sucked. This isn't a celebration of anything.
No, this isn't. It's not a celebration of Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. It's just a reminder that, hey, by the way, we gave up on Yara Flor because her TV show didn't get optioned. Let's have another one. And, we'll just keep throwing Wonder Girls at the wall until one of them fucking sticks, I guess.
If you've never heard of Yara Flor, or you remember the character, but you're like, where did she go? I kind of broke everything that happened with the character down in this video where I talked about how they destroyed the hottest character they had created in years at DC Comics in less than a year. It was absolutely amazing, the incompetency at DC Comics and the way they were able to do this. Definitely check this video out right now. There's also a link in the video description.